Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing here? Thanks for tuning in here. We're just catching the skyline. Hey, they got some Halloween decorations in Anatolia. Some Mediterranean Greek place there. There's where the alley where Neo's used to be. Remember, there used to be a sign there. Look at the terracotta. There's Big Apple Finer Foods here. We got October the 9th, 2025 here. So we'll head down Clark Street. We're south of Fullerton. I'm starting my commute to work here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Chris, good morning. How about that? We lived to play another day there. Scott G, hey, thanks for tuning in there. Yeah, I couldn't even watch the game there. Well, of course, I was with Ernie. Chicago Nuggies and I were at the big march up Michigan Avenue there. That was nice. But hey, the Cubs, I saw the score at the first inning. It was 4-1. I'm like, the Cubs are going to need more than that. And I'm amazed they hung on, because like when Milwaukee was trying to come back in the 8th there, they had a man on third. I guess they got, because it was 4-3. Oh my God, Chris, another heart attack night. I know, but we lived in D.C. another day. Selena, Grace, Christy M, Razor, is that what that is? Jessica, Sam, yeah. Early bird gets the worm, yeah. Padro, how you doing there? You rooting for the Blue Jays? Hey, well, that's okay. We're rooting for the Cubs because not everybody in Chicago roots for the Cubs. Probably half of Chicago still roots for the White Sox, but the Cubs, or the city, the city, not the suburbs, but a lot of suburbs root for the Sox too. But Cubs, you know, just like New York City Mets and the Yankees, you got different people root for different people, or different teams there, but I'm rooting for the Cubs. And they play Milwaukee again. I think it's an 8:08. I think it's an 8:08 game this evening, right? Yeah. So hey, we'll see what happens tonight. Thanks everybody who tuned in yesterday. Ernie and I covered the protests there downtown. I was pretty impressed with the turnout. It was. I've been trying to go to cover these things. I know there were larger protests earlier in the year, and then it kind of dwindled down, and now they're getting much larger again. So we'll, you know, and that was an anti-ICE. That was an anti-ICE protest. It was a coalition of several groups, the ones that organized it to resist the Trump agenda and or stop the Trump agenda. And of course, we saw our friends there with resistfascism.org. They were there in mass. Same people we saw. Ernie and I went down to Pilsen there, St. Pius, on Sunday. It was great seeing them. And there was the pro-Palestinian protesters were there, some of them. And of course, people against ICE, other groups, No Kings. The No Kings was well represented there. There was a lot of people from No Kings at the protest, and great speakers, altar people that were affected by ICE gave speeches. And so, you can see that on YouTube. Ernie has it too. Ernie covered it on TikTok. Ernie marched with people up Michigan Avenue. I you know, got out of there, and so I'm a armchair hippie there. But I saw the images. It's pretty powerful, you know, and you know, I don't expect your opinions in line with mine. It was a newsworthy event to cover, just like at lunchtime we saw. I did not expect this. Ernie and I showed up at Federal Plaza. I thought it was just going to be a small rally. Chewy Garcia was there. I was impressed that Chewy Garcia and some other local officials were there, elected officials, and then J.B. Pritzker made a surprise appearance, and the media fawned over him because earlier in the day the president called for the arrest. The president of the United States called for the arrest of the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, and J.B. Pritzker. It's just a publicity stunt. J.B. Pritzker took it as that. Look, they're starting to have the barricades. The marathon's going to Chicago Marathon's going to be run here right down the street on Sunday. This coming Sunday, and we'll be here to cover it. And there'll be bands and people dressed up, and people have already contacted me. People coming in from all over the world to run. And their people are afraid to come to Chicago, not because of Brandon Johnson or Davey Prisker, but because they've asked me. They said, should I be concerned that ICE is going to harass? No, this is a real question. Okay, they're afraid that ICE is going to harass them as foreigners trying to come here and spend their money in hotels and running a marathon. Okay, how is this making America great? That's all I'm asking, you know, as far as the eyes of our friends and allies throughout the world, because they see what we're seeing. They're appalled too. And I actually am encouraged that more people outside the country are appalled by people in the country. So anyway, here, let's keep going here. You should see some of the comments we get. But it just shows people on the other side are not happy either. They just want to take their anger out on whoever they want to take it out on. So we'll keep it focused on the people making the decisions there in Washington, or lack of compromise. And here across the street, I see a skeleton. Here's St. Valentine's Day Massacre. So Halloween, I'm missing all the comments here. Yeah, this is the site of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, February 14th, 1929. 7 members of Bugs Moran's North Side gang were murdered by 4 members of Al Capone's South Side gang. It's still an unsolved murder mystery. Here's the glow-in-the-dark skeleton. Here's the big one. There's the Home Depot skeleton. And look, very nice. I like. Oh, this is really nice. They got the golden. Got the bats, the golden skeletons. Looks like. See, this used to be the antique shop. There's the Chicago Pizza and Oven Grinder, 2121 North Clark Street. Get the oven grinder sandwich. It's like a hoagie, or you get the chicken or the pizza pot pie, vanilla patisserie. Right, we're on Clark Street. Heading down to work here at 652 Clark and Dickens, Lincoln Park, Chicago. And we'll just head down Clark Street here. I missed the farmer's market yesterday. We took a bike right in. It's a little cooler today. It's probably in the upper 50s. How you doing? Here we'll cross it. We're here. This Flatiron building, Dickens and Clark Street. There's the cow on the roof there. Prince, how you doing there, Frank? Ernie, yeah, beautiful morning, Ernie. Thanks. I saw some of your footage there. Isn't it amazing? We saw the governor yesterday. I didn't expect that, and thanks for covering the march or the protest there. And we were there at the rally, and I'll cut out that video. Is still processing. I kept on my walk home. I kept directing people. I said, "Watch Ernie. Ernie's covering the march there on TikTok." 70,000 people have already seen the YouTube rerun from last night. That's eyes on the screen, which is great. People were getting coverage of the protests. Izzy, how you doing there? Yeah, you got 6. Yeah, we got 6. We're 6:54 in the AM. So you must be in Newfoundland or something. If you got like a half-hour difference. That's oh, maybe I missed that before. Yeah, we got 6:54 in the AM here, Chicago, Illinois here. So. Hey, look at this sculpture here, the expressions of the mouth there. Hey, we'll get a nice view at where Armitage and Lincoln, or no, I tell you what, Armitage and Clark meet here. This is where Ogden Avenue used to come through, but doesn't anymore. Look at that nice view to the John Hancock and the 900 North Michigan. We'll head right over here. This is where we're at. You are here. There's Lake Michigan. Here we'll get the here's the Sears Tower. But hey, Cubs pulled it off last night. Survived to play another game there, to play today at 8:08. I think is the game time today. Is that correct? And here we're crossing Lincoln Park West. There's the Lincoln Park West and Clark Street. Good, so now I can concentrate on the comments here. Chris was the uncensored version, yeah. Yeah. Benoit, how you doing there? Fishman. Yeah, you went to boot camp? Jose, how you doing there? Yeah, Frank. Amsterdam's tuning in, yeah. Thanks for tuning in. It's later in the afternoon there, yeah. No, see, Ernie and I are the new media. This is the new media, and we saw it there yesterday. There was literally hundreds of people like Ernie and I, people with social media accounts, people with like healthcare should be free. We saw him there. I talked with him. He said he got his account back. He can live stream now on TikTok. It was a 3-day ban. He got a 3-day temporary live streaming ban from TikTok for covering the Broadview protest. He was there at Broadview. He goes there often. We see him at all these rallies. He's very passionate, and he'll protest by himself. That's staying out there by yourself on Michigan Avenue and have cars honking and throwing stuff at you without being in the safety of the crowds. And he's risking a lot. And so we commend his efforts there. And Ernie too, every day just walking around the city, just being himself, subject to all of it. He's subject to be profiled by ICE. And that's why we're joining these rallies. You get involved. You can't stay neutral. I'm willing to take the heat. If I post a video of JB Pritzker, people are going to attack me. Why? Because they can't defend the policies that got us into this situation. There's videos going around. It's great. Check it out. I'm not trying to be overly political. We have to talk about this stuff. If we don't talk about it, we act like nothing's going on. This is not normal times we live in. This is not business as usual. You got to pay attention. They want us to just go watch football games and baseball and not pay attention. We'll keep the mix. We'll keep the balance, but we'll talk about both. But Pam Bondi said we're going to be the most transparent Department of Justice ever, and then you see her on the stand. I can't talk about that. We can't. She Stonewall. Even the Republicans, even Lindsey Graham. She was yelling at Lindsey Graham. Pam Bondi was yelling at Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham was asking her about tapping his telephone, and she would not answer his questions. This is Lindsey Graham, a conservative Republican, a Trump ally. Trump's own appointed attorney general would not answer his questions when she was suspended. So who does she work for? She doesn't work for Lindsey Graham. She doesn't work for the people of South Carolina. She works for one person. And we know who that is. And so, what happened to we the people? So, we'll head to work here. We'll see what happens today. Hey, look, riding a motorcycle here. 50 degrees. Or it's 58 degrees. What is it? I don't even know. It's probably cooler in the suburbs. They may get a frost last night. Who do you work for? I'm sure, no matter if you're on the right or the left, it's insulting to anybody. I would not. I'll do my best not to people that are on the opposite side of the political spectrum than me, not do this. People always assume that, we're being paid by George Soros or some vast media conspiracy, like we're getting paid to post all this stuff. Now, there are people that do get paid by the parties, like a lot of the political stuff that we saw leading to the election. People were getting paid to post some of that stuff, and it came out of the political campaign funds. It was considered advertising. And you think, where am I going? I'm walking to work. No one's paying me to post it. My employer is not paying me. Actually, my employer would wish I would get off of social media and not cover this stuff, because it hurts business. I'm telling people to curtail their economic activity, hunker down, prepare for a recession, prepare for economic hardship. The billionaires will still soak up all the money, but they won't share the wealth And it's going to become blatantly obvious as we start dealing with these crises that are building are not going to go away. Healthcare, affordability, inflation. How many jobs have been brought back? I'm just not seeing it here. Tariffs are just a way to make money. Here's United States. We're all about the money. Here's Eugenie Terrace here. We're on Clark Street. Here's the Hotel Lincoln. Stay in the Hotel Lincoln if you want to be close to the Lincoln Park Zoo. They got the Fall Fest going on. We were over there earlier in the week. We walked through there. Julie Reed, how you doing there? Camelot, yeah, Scott G. Hey, good morning. How's everybody doing there? Saul. Yeah, the money came from USAID. Did you see our government just loaned Argentina like $20 billion? You know, so if anybody brings you up about, oh, we were wasting all this money on USAID, say, well, why did the Trump administration give $20 billion? I know they'll say, oh, so it was an investment in the country. It's like, we're going to annex Argentina like we want to annex Greenland. Is that what it is? And you know how controversial that would be? Like, Americans would accept annexing Greenland because they wouldn't think it would affect our culture. But if we accept, we would, you know, this is offensive to Argentinians and people from Argentina and South America. But if the United States, I'm being facetious here, if the United States would annex Argentina, all people would go nuts. Oh, they couldn't come here. You know why? Because that's how people treat Puerto Rico. That's how we treat Bad Bunny. And you got stupid, I shouldn't say stupid. I need to be more respectful of elected leaders that don't represent me. Speaker Johnson, he's got his underwear in a wad because of Bad Bunny. And he goes, I wish Lee Greenwood would do the half. Lee Greenwood's 85 years old. You know, I bet you 95 out of 100 people under 30 years old have no idea who Lee Greenwood is, but 99 out of 100 would know who Bad Bunny is. So at least we're confident that the Republican Party hasn't cornered the market on coolness. I don't think Speaker Johnson would ever be considered to be a hip guy. He reminds me of like the deacon at the church I went to when I was a kid, and all the kids were afraid of him because we're like, here, look at the wow, that's the Sears Tower there, looking down LaSalle Street. Here's the Moody Church. Yeah, and my stream suddenly cut off yesterday because my battery went out, and then I just hopped on a bike. I hopped on a divvy bike and rode home just in time to see the result of the last. The game was over by the time I got home, the Cubs game. Hey, we'll post more of that footage there from yesterday. You can see the full live rerun. It's already posted there on YouTube from last night. We went to the protest there on Michigan Avenue at Ida B. Wells. A lot of good speakers. And we'll cut out clips and spread awareness here. We're resilient. Here's the melted piece of molten rock here from the Great Chicago. Okay, so October the 8th was October the 8th or October the 7th. I think October the 7th is the anniversary of the Great Chicago Fire. Thanks, Shauna, for reminding me of that. I have a rerun from last year where it's like 10 minutes long where I talk about it. I'll try to repost that today, but I got so much content to post that we're just gonna have content overload. You're gonna get tired of seeing. I'll get messages from people. I used to like your channel, but now you're all political, and I can't stand to watch an image of J.B. Pritzker. I'm going to delete your channel because I can't see, I'm now you know how I feel. Like I turn off the TV. I've almost destroyed a TV when I see an image of the president on it, like talking. I have to turn it off for my own mental health. And he loves that. He loves the fact that he has that power over us to troll us just by, and that's where we're at. We can't, I understand if you want to You can delete my channel if you can. I gotta be true to myself. This is important events, historical events we're living through here that we'll look back someday and we'll be glad that we documented all this stuff. So people will see how easily things could go off the tracks. And we've been through this before and we'll go through it again. But hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Chicago here. We're walking through Lincoln Park. I'm heading to work. The actual park, checking out the squirrels, people walking dogs. Went by the couch tomb. Thanks for tuning in here. Hey, the squirrels. See, they got this plaza. They got a nice little plaza. Sometimes people rent this out. They got these trellises. This is behind the Chicago Historical Society. And, hey, there it is. Glenn, how you doing there? RGR, Andre. So the time is 7:06. How you doing here? We're in Central Time Zone, Chicago, Illinois. I'm just a watch and a weatherman. That's what I'm most useful for. Is people tune in, see what the weather's like before they leave the door. We got beautiful sunrise over Lake Michigan. Let me check my other phone to see what the temperature is in the suburbs or by the airport. Going on here. There, 50. We're in the 50s. We're in the mid 50s. My phone says 52, but I think it's like above 55 by the lake. The lake keeps you warmer, so it almost feels like 60 degrees, but I'm still wearing a thin jacket. And the Blackhawks started playing. They've been losing. But here we'll head right over to the Gold Coast here. I was gonna do Astor Street, looking at Astor Street for Halloween decorations yesterday, but I rode a bike home instead because I was tired from covering the protests. So I just we'll do Astor Street tonight or tomorrow night. We'll see some, but we'll head down through the Gold Coast here. Yeah, Margie, hope you feel better soon. You know what? I might cut over to Astor Street this morning just because I'm curious. I want to do some reconnaissance. I want to see in the daylight what houses have Halloween decorations, so I'll know where to go tonight when it starts to get dark. And so here, let's this way maybe we could pop out at Oak Street Beach, see if there's any waves. It was, I almost filmed it. I could have. My other phone was, but the camera doesn't do it justice. Anytime you try to film the moon, I've tried to film the moon, full moon. We had the harvest moon. It was amazingly large harvest moon over the lake. The waves, we had nice waves last night. It was dark. I was riding a bike along Lakeshore Drive. It was beautiful, but the camera just doesn't do it justice. The moon looks like a little speck anytime you try to zoom in. And even when I tried to get that super moon next to the water crib, it was very hard to get it. But it was a beautiful moon over Lake Michigan last night. The waves and the clouds, they had crazy clouds out there that the moon was reflecting off of. It was beautiful. People that jogged on the lakeshore last night know what I mean. Hey, Green Label Bell, Naya Papaya there, yeah. Friends and neighbors. Thanks everybody there. Good morning, S Van Sky. How you doing there? Brian Oman. Brian Oman's tuning in from Ireland. That's great. Appreciate it. Portage Park in Chicago. Bell, thanks for tuning in from Portage Park here. That's great. Appreciate it. Yeah, State. Here's the 1550 North State Street building. There's the Archbishop's residence. Yeah, we'll go down Astor Street and then I'll cut over to Oak Street Beach. I just decided that on a whim. We went down to State Street and Dearborn Street earlier this week. So I'm going to do some reconnaissance on Astor Street for Halloween decorations. So I'll stop talking about politics, talk about Halloween decorations. Hey, the Archbishop's residence got 19 chimneys. And there you got the little fountain there flying the Vatican flag. This used to be the Catholic cemetery. Now it's the Archbishop's residence. Cardinal George used to live here when I moved to Chicago, but he passed away, and now Cardinal Supich lives down by the Holy Name Cathedral there. Yeah, visit Chicago. Yeah, we got the marathon coming up on Sunday. I plan to cover the marathon. And I'm sure probably most of the other Chicago live streamers will be covering the marathon in some fashion if they're around, because it goes to all sides of the city. Starts on the north side, goes to the west side, ends up on the south side, going back to downtown. And a lot of people come from all over the world to run in this to try to qualify for the Boston Marathon. Here's North and Astor. There's Lake Michigan this way. Let's head down here and we'll see what people are starting to set up for the Halloween here. Yeah, the marathon. Yeah, cheers. Yeah, I use a gimbal. Yeah, that's why it's smooth. It helps out. I was walking to Michigan Avenue. You could see it on the live there. I was across from the Tribune. The guy goes, "You got a nice setup there." I said, "Yeah." Makes it easy there. I got to handle the hold, because you know, if you don't use a gimbal, you got a shaky camera, and then eventually I get tired of holding the phone, and it makes it easy to drop the phone, because when you got to hold it like that out with your hand the whole time, you know, different people have different methods of doing it, but I use a gimbal. It's just a DJI Osmo 7. It's got a tripod, which helps out, I can set it down. Every once in a while you'll need to set it down, because gimbals, you can't really set them down. They got a accelerometer gyroscope in it, so they'll start vibrating if you set it down. Hey, Gorgom, how you doing there? Yeah, so Gorgom, you know, when I was a kid, my parents raised me in a fundamentalist Christian religion that agreed with your viewpoint. I was not allowed to celebrate Halloween when I was a kid. But we also were not allowed to celebrate Christmas, even though we were Christian. Because you know why? Christmas is not in the Bible. Neither is Halloween, so you are correct. But I enjoy, since I'm a pretty secular person now, and I'm open to other people's cultures, and a lot of people really like Halloween. They really don't think any much deeper into it besides a commercial fun holiday to dress up and have candy. And I don't think people really do the satanic stuff. But if it scares people, it does scare people. And we're living through scary times, so I can relate there. I got the eyes here. So hey, we'll have to come back at night. I'm sure they got some lights. Here we are on Astor Street, Gold Coast, Chicago. They got the Grim Reaper. Yeah, this is amazing. So we'll come back at night and we'll check this out. Go ahead. And yeah, we look at these. This is one of these used to be a McCormick mansion. They bought it. We talk about it and they broke it up. But this over here is other people's residences here. There's the Grim Reaper there, so we'll come back and check this stuff out. Maybe tonight or tomorrow night when it's darker. Yeah, so it shows you social media. No matter what I film, everything's controversial. Halloween decorations are controversial. Christmas decorations are controversial. The Gold Coast of Chicago is controversial. Chicago itself is controversial. My governor, my mayor is controversial. I'm controversial. If I talk about nothing, it's controversial. If I talk about anything, it's controversial. And then, thanks, just thanks for your comments there. This little squirrel's controversial. So you want to get into political battle here. Someone doesn't like the squirrel there because they don't like squirrels. Hey, we look at the nice webbing here. We got a big pyramid of spider webs. Got pumpkins. This is Astor Street. I'm okay with Halloween because, from my experience, it's one of the few things that I can post. I can post a Halloween decoration rerun of somebody creatively decorating, and bipartisanly, people will bring joy to people's life. And so anything that brings joy to some people's life, you'll find somebody that it bothers them. That just the fact that it brings joy to other people's life, that that's like the best thing we could do. Is to, like, the people in Oregon, the ones that dress up in Portland, Oregon, and they dress up in the inflatables like the frog and the cute animals, and they go to protest, and police and ICE agents spray pepper spray in their air intake, which is that should be against the Geneva Convention, because somebody could actually, like, get injured or injure their lungs that way. Did you see the police officer that sprayed pepper spray in the eyes of the woman, intentionally knowing that she was going to be in pain she might have damaged her eyesight the way he did it. And, I argue if there's any justice they should spray in his eyes and let him get to see what it feels like. Yeah, Gorgum. So, hey, we'll let Gorgum just sit there and complain. Mods, don't block him. Just let him sit there and complain, and it just boosts engagement. More people. Gorgum, hit the thumbs up there. You'll help me out with more people will be able to see my content. And do you feel powerless there? Just, you know, you're wasting your time and energy complaining on why don't you change the channel, watch something else, and enjoy yourself. It sounds like you want to be miserable and just complain. And so we'll let you do it. Somehow you're getting enjoyment out of this. So hey, thanks for, even if you're like a sadomasochist, you know, I enjoy the punishment. This is great. We're going to keep going here. We've been streaming for 2.5 years here, multiple platforms. You just empower me to keep on doing this. Here's wow. Yeah, so here we went. Okay, so they're setting out more. We saw they were starting to set up here. They've added more decorations here. This beautiful housing here on Astor Street, the Gold Coast, Chicago. Look at the yeah, Brian, really Chicago. How you doing? Hey, cute dog. How you doing? You know, I'm moving to YouTube because they're really starting to clamp down on people on TikTok. I was at the protest yesterday, just covering it like a news, and JB Pritzker was downtown, and they're starting to ban people's accounts for cover. You cannot search for the word Portland on TikTok. Can you believe that? That's so crazy. I'm streaming on YouTube. I'm just letting people know. But hey, thanks for letting. Have a good day. Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good. So hey, friends and neighbors here. Hey, look at the cat. Wow, look at that. That is nice. Hey, look at the ghost there. Wow, they said they added more inflatables here. Yeah, look at the wonderful Halloween displays. How you doing, sir? Look at that. Yeah, look at the. We got. We'll come back and look at this at night. So we saw them starting to set this up. I knew they had more to add because when we were here last, they didn't have these on the balconies, and they'll light this up. They got the werewolf. They got the black cat. Got the witch. This is Astor Street, Old Coast, Chicago. So I'm getting excited about this. Look at the ghost. The ghost with the most. Yeah, nice squash there. So the 1400 block of Astor Street. There's the Charlie Persky house. And we'll head across Schiller. This is Schiller, Astor Street. So the buildings combined with the Halloween decorations is what's so great. This is Louis Sullivan is the architect. Frank Lloyd Wright was the apprentice. This is the Charlie Persky house. It's a National Historic Register, 1892. You see Louis Sullivan's influence there on Frank Lloyd Wright, Charlie Persky house. You can tour it. It's part of the Architectural Foundation for free. I think Wednesdays and Saturdays they have tours, and you just need to sign up and get on the email. I think it's free, but you just got to sign up, or maybe there's a small fee. Here's this beautiful mansion here. They still got the tropical plants. October the 9th, we still got tropical plants here in Chicago, outdoors. Hey, Chris, good morning there. The Dwardian. Yeah, so, you know, we can't win either way. We can't win either way. Chicago's demographics are about a third white, what you would call white. I think there's only one race, the human race, but we're all limited by our consciousness to categorize people according to the color of their hair, nail polish, who they vote for. And so this is roughly about a third African American black, about a third Latino Hispanic, and some Latino Hispanic people are also black, and about a 10% Asian. The Asian's actually growing. The Asian, which includes South Asian, is probably the fastest growing demographic, despite what people would think it's Hispanic. But Hispanic grew a lot, and Chicago became heavily more Hispanic, Latino after the 1960s and after the civil rights. But it's been going on for decades. It's not just a recent phenomenon, part of our community here, and that's why we're protesting. But I'm happy to live here. I lived in the country. I moved, okay, so the area I grew up in, Southeast Indiana, the high school I went to, it was about 1,000 people. There was about 250 people in each of the classes there. I had one black person in my entire graduating class. And I knew him. He was, you know, And of course, like dummies, we were like, oh, he's the best player we got on our football team. He was a nice guy. He was a running back for our football team. This is in the country of Indiana. We had about maybe 1 or 2% Hispanic people, and the rest were white as you can possibly get, because a lot of Iowa's that way, a lot of Indiana, a lot of Kentucky. It's just, you get into Appalachia, you get into regions where the demographics are 90% white. I moved from an area that was majority white like that to Chicago, a very diverse city, and I love it. I love living in a diverse area. I love having multiple cultures. We go to culture. We went to Chinatown for the Moon Festival. We went to Humboldt Park for the Barrio Fest. And Puerto Ricans are Americans, but, go to Devon Avenue there, and the amazing South Asian cuisine on the north side. And I like living in a diverse area. I just don't understand why so many people fear it. And this is there's always been crime in the city, and people want to blame it on whatever they want to blame it on. But here we're, hey, skeletons trying to get out there. Here's, hey, we got some spider webs here, Astor Street. So, hey, we know where the Halloween decorations are. How you doing? It looks beautiful here. Astor Street, Gold Coast, Chicago. Look at these window bays. Very nice. Yeah, creativity. That's good, Carrie. Yeah, Devon. You go up to the north side there. It's just, you get some South. There's also like Pakistani. There's Bangladesh. There's even Middle Eastern cuisine up there on Devon. But of course, you go to the west side, the south side, you'll get many more diverse areas. Now, Lincoln Park in Chicago, and especially Lakeview, is majority white. And that's why, there is a north side, south side socioeconomic divide that's tied to whiteness, like all cities, because historically, why is that wealth concentrated in white people in America? Because historically, by law, it was, the money flowed to whiteness. And this is what we're dealing with now with the rise of white nationalism in our government. Project 2025, we're seeing it play out. There is a hidden agenda. Trump did know about it. Oh, he doesn't know anything about David Duke. He doesn't know anything about Project 2025. He doesn't know anything about January 6th. He doesn't know, no, I don't know anything about any of that. Here, look at the witches. Look at that. There's the 3 witches. Hey, there's the big witch. Wow, look at that. Look at those claws. Wow, that's that. We'll have to come back here. I bet at night they turn it on, and then it has animatronics. So, hey, this is a beautiful house here, too. Disaster Street, Gold Coast, Chicago. They got the spiders, but they got the witches. So we'll come back. We'll check all this stuff out. We got 7:23. Yeah, I got time to go to Oak Street Beach. So let's go to Oak Street Beach to see if there's any waves. We missed the sunrise, but we caught it yesterday. You can watch the rerun here. Astron Division, Gold Coast, Chicago. I'm heading to work. People will call me a bum. I'm walking to work. Like, yeah, I'm a bum. Work for an architecture engineering firm. You're nothing but a bum. But here, we'll head across here. We'll head over to Oak Street Beach. Hey, Sandra, how you doing there? No, I've lived in Chicago for 26 years without a car. That's a good question. It's part of why I do this. Why am I walking and talking? Why am I a live streamer in my advanced age here? I'm 49 years old. Why am I out here being a live streamer on TikTok and YouTube? I've been walking. If I wasn't live streaming, I still would be walking to work. I'd probably ride a bike. I probably would have slept in and rode a bike and got there in half an hour. But I've been living in Chicago without a car for 26 years. It's one of the few cities. You have to live in a city. It's expensive housing unless you live, you could do it on the west or south side, but even that housing is getting expensive. Talk to people in Bronzeville or Pilsen, and it's the same thing. We're fighting. There's people fighting. They're the Chicago gatekeepers, GATE keepers, that are trying to keep people from moving here because they don't want housing prices to continue to accelerate. But it's going to be hard because people are going to naturally want to move to cities for employment or excitement, Well, hey, we had some excitement yesterday at the protest. Hey, you can come move here and join the protest. People vote by where they live. So if you want to support Chicago, you can move here. Here's the, so I'll probably lose my connection. Here's the Gold Coast, Lakeshore Drive. We'll head over to Oak Street Beach here. So I'm probably going to lose my connection. We'll pop out on the other side here. This is the dark, creepy tunnel. Ernie and I were talking about that. They want to build a oak walk through the creepy tunnel. So hey, welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Oak Street Beach. Brett, I think that's awesome. You're right. I would be happy if no one else wants to move here. I like Chicago less crowded, and so you're actually strengthening our cause. The Chicago gatekeepers would love you, Scott, because if what you say is correct, then they've been successful, because these are Chicagoans that don't want people like you or anybody else moving here. So we don't give a shit if what you think about Chicago. We enjoy it. That's all we care about. And I just love the fact that I can just be myself, and people could hate me for being myself and just being my true self and walking to work here. I don't get paid by the city. I make fun of the city as much as anybody else, and I live here. But you have to live here to earn the right to do that. Here's Oak Street Beach. Oak Street Beach, Chicago, Illinois. So the sun already rose there. We got some nice waves here. There are the seagulls. How you doing there, seagulls? And there, look at this nice view we get to. But I moved here 26 years ago, 27 years ago, at the end of the 1990s. And it was a boom time economically. And it was a really exciting time to live in Chicago. And there was crime then. Actually, arguably, crime was worse in the 1990s than it is now. People didn't complain as much because we've all turned into a bunch of, Republicans always call liberal snowflakes. I see a lot of Republicans acting like snowflakes, not only on my channel, but, it's just we all complain. You complain, I complain. It's what we would do as humans. And so we're all snowflakes. Now you get to see what it feels like. Here's look at that. Here's Lake Michigan. Look at all the okay, so number one, there's a bunch of algae that washed up here that probably died when the lake's starting to cool off. And then look at all the cans. Look at all the cans. All summer long, people threw cans in Lake Michigan. When the waves kick up, all the garbage that's out there washes up on the shore. And so these are all cans that people threw in Lake Michigan, and they wash back up on the shore here. But here we're at Oak Street Beach. Thanks for tuning in here. We got 7:28 in the a.m. We got October the 9th, 2025. The Cubs won last night, so they live to play another game. They play game 4 against Milwaukee. 8:08, I think, is the start time at Wrigley Field there. And I don't know if I'm going to go up there before the game or not. I'll probably, that would probably be the most opportune time. Who knows how long the game's going to go. Then I could just lounge around, watch the game, and celebrate or fall asleep when it's over. Here's, hey, see people come out. You come out to the beach and meditate, do your yoga, your zen, greet the sunrise, get your moment of peaceful calm to start your day by the waves of the fresh water of Lake Michigan. There's the Gold Coast. We'll head over here. Hey, Phil Goodyear, how you doing there? Thanks for tuning in there. Poland's tuning in. Lydia, thanks for tuning in there. Yeah, the Tiger. Thomas Bello. Yeah, what's Thomas Bello's beef there? 65 degrees. That's good. It's warming up. I think we got into the 50s overnight. I don't know what it is now, but hey, look at that. See, greet the sun there. Look at that beautiful clouds. Oak Street Beach, Chicago, Illinois. So we'll head down Michigan Avenue. We'll go to work here. Yeah, see you on the next one there. Thanks, people tuning in here. Neping. This. Open plumbing. Yeah, I try to mix it up. I try to walk slightly different paths. I'm always going from Lincoln Park to downtown, which I get criticized for that. I know people want to see more of the south and west sides. And I do. I got over 150 videos, 160. I got over 300 videos of the south and west side on my TikTok. I got about 100 on YouTube. But yeah, I try to pick slightly different. Like we rode a bike yesterday and caught the sunrise. Sometimes I go for, hey, good morning, how you doing there? Thanks for saying hello. See friends and neighbors waving by as they go by here, just jogging. And see, I feel more connected to my community. You know, isn't it amazing that people bash Chicago? You see how friendly Chicagoans are? You see how nice and good looking Chicagoans are? You people just can't enjoy anything, you know? It's just, there's good people that live here. We're not all evil. We're all not trying to, you know, ruin your life wherever you live. We're just trying to live our own life here in our own way. Do your own thing in your own time. Come on. You know, things should be getting better, not worse. So we'll stay positive here. So I'm just encouraged by good average people standing up and taking a stand for whatever you believe in. Do your own self, be true. So here, yeah, the Chicago Marathon's coming up there. Look at that. We'll see people running in all ability. The wheelchairs go first. There's people old and young. Some people run the marathon barefoot. And we caught that last year. Drink to that. Yeah, thanks, Michael. Michael John, Christy M. Yeah. So, most people, compared to New York City, most people say Chicagoans are much nicer than New Yorkers, so I don't know what you're talking about. You're living in a weird reality, I guess. Maybe you're thinking of like a certain demographic that aids to your worldview. You got to look down on us to feel better about yourself. Go ahead. Here, so here we'll head down Michigan Avenue. We'll go by the John Hancock. See, marathoner. She's got her shirt from last year. She's getting ready there. Looking good. Archie and Fritz. Yeah, they ignored the truth. They ignored the truth. There was a good, who did that? Okay, so, you know, the chef guy that everybody follows, there, you know, there's like Wolf's the lawyer guy with the mullet hair. Then there's the chef guy, the skinny guy that always has amazing political rants. He talks about religion too, but he was like, why are Republicans so afraid of cities? You know, and I know the answer. I know the answer. I wanted to reply because I've lived in these cities. And, you know, cities are centers of our culture and economy. All the stock exchanges, all your 401k, it goes through a city. You know, a lot of the media that everybody hates so much is concentrated in New York City and LA, you know, or, you know, the Hollywood and the news media in New York City. All the major airports you got to fly through. You know, Heathrow in London, O'Hare in Chicago, Hartsfield in Atlanta, JFK, LAX. It's major cities. You're stuck at the airport, you know. I know we got congestion and crime. We got all the things, the trappings of modern life in cities. But why are some, I should say some, not all. No groups monolithic. I got to be consistent because I criticize other people for doing this too. You can't say all about anything. Not all Democrats are the same way. Not all Republicans the same way. I'm friends with people that are Republicans because they're relatives. And but why are some conservatives so afraid of cities? And it's because they fear the crime. They fear the crime. And largely what drives the fear of crime is the fear of certain socioeconomic groups that drive the crime. Why is there so much anti-immigrant sentiment? Because the current president has stoked the fervor of populism to say, hey, it's the immigrants causing the crime. If we just get rid of the immigrants, crime will go down. And people have bought into that narrative. And so Texas and Florida sent the migrants to New York and Chicago in the hopes that Trump would become reelected. He was, and then they got appropriations for Congress, and they're rounding them up, and they knew it would be horrible and scary, and they wanted to look fearful because they want to create fear in certain communities by having mass people beat up grandmas and little kids and stalk schools, and we know what's going on because it's fear. It's the beginning of fascism, and it's scary when a country that used to be the standard bearer for human rights and democracy goes back on those claims out of fear, because fear is a greater motivator than hope. And fear leads to wars. I sound like Yoda, right? Anger leads to fear. Fear leads to suffering. Whatever. Stupid Hollywood. Here's George Lucas. We might see George Lucas this morning. Here's the John Hancock. Here's the John Hancock, 875 North Michigan. Yeah, I got a rerun of the Fourth Presbyterian. We can cut that out. We went by that early in the week. I'm so behind in my content. We had so much content yesterday from the protests and the politicians that we saw speaking at Federal Plaza there in defense of federal workers affected by the government shutdown. Again, I'll give credit where credit is due. When's the last time I've said anything positive at all about Marjorie Taylor Greene? I'm going to say something positive about it right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene is siding with the Democrats that healthcare, her constituents in her state, a red state, she realizes healthcare is probably the biggest driving of costs for her constituents. She says we should fund the healthcare. Marjorie Taylor Greene is breaking with her party. She's standing on her principles, which is amazing because I disagree with her when she stands on other principles, but I respect her right that she's standing on her principles, even though they're different than my principles. But so I said something positive about Marjorie Taylor Greene, so mark it down there. And I won't get credit for that, I know. I've said positive things about Rand Paul for making a stand too against his own party, which is hard to do. John McCain did it too. He paid the price. You know. Bernie Sanders did it too against his own party. He paid the price too. The Democratic Party made sure he would not be the nominee against Hillary Clinton. And that was the Democratic Party. And they might have won that election if they would have went with Bernie Sanders against Hillary Clinton in hindsight, but we'll never know because they wouldn't let it happen. They wouldn't let the people, they manipulate it because too much corporate money was at stake. Hillary would have protected Wall Street and the corporate interests that both parties better than Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders would have went against corporate America, the hand that feeds the Democratic Party, besides the other special interest groups. And these are just my opinions here. Hey, thanks for tuning in here. Here's the Water Tower, Chicago. We're heading to work here. We got 738. There's the Park Hyatt. We're on Michigan Avenue. Thanks for tuning in here. Yeah, George Lucas owns many properties. This is one. He has properties all over the world. And we're actually honored that he has a nice piece of real estate here in Chicago. It still was a missed opportunity. He wanted to build his museum there on the lakefront, but it was too controversial with the Friends of the Park. And now we're losing the Bears as well, probably but it might be a win-win because we'll get more of our park space back. They'll repurpose Soldier Field for something else after the Bears leave and the Chicago Fire get their new soccer-only stadium in the South Loop. But here we're crossing Chicago Avenue and Michigan. We're on Michigan Avenue. Yeah, all greens there. Hey, we got the fall plantings here. We'll head, here's the Pace bus, comes in from the suburbs. So the Chicago Fire currently play at Soldier Field. I'm in Chicago, I'm on Michigan Avenue. The owner of the Chicago Fire football club there, soccer team in Chicago, is financing with his own money or his own resources. He's not asking the taxpayer to fund the soccer stadium, which I commend him for that, unlike the Bears, the greedy McCaskies. And it's hard because just like people on the right said they were going to boycott the NFL with the Kaepernick, people on the left like me are saying I'm trying to get away from the NFL. It's impossible when 93 of the top 100 by Nielsen rating shows every year are NFL games. The 93 most valuable commercial, to sell commercials are football games, and the Super Bowl, of course, is the most. But even the NFL is savvy enough to realize that by picking, just like the halftime show last year, by picking purposely controversial cultural war icons like Bad Bunny to play the halftime show, the controversy will make more people will watch, even if they don't like it. And I'm cool with Bad Bunny doing the halftime show. It's the people on the other side that like Speaker Johnson that would rather have Lee Greenwood playing the halftime show than Bad Bunny. I'd much rather have Bad Bunny. He's got to put on a much better show, trust me, than some vanilla, cheesy 80s throwback to the Reagan era, which no longer exists. The patriotism of the Reagan era is gone when we have people, some people siding more with Russia than our European allies. Reagan is rolling in his grave that we're not supporting NATO as much as we should in the United Nations. Here is Harry Potter. Here's the Harry Potter store. Then we got sirens here. There's some ambulance heading out of the hospitals here. We're at Michigan and Huron here, heading to work. Here's the Allegro, Allerton Hotel. Excuse me, the Allerton Hotel. The Allegro's in the loop. Yeah, halftime's more kitchen time, Chris. Chris always cooks good food, and you and Jennifer. I need to invite you and Jennifer and Ernie and whoever else wants to come. We'll have a Super Bowl party, and maybe we'll have it at your place, Chris. I don't know. Yeah, we did it because you guys. If we could get you and Jennifer, you guys would make such great food, and then we could watch the Super Bowl. That's just an idea. We'll see We'll see if we can make it to winter. I'm not even that far ahead. We're still in fall here. So Nike Town, Converse store, they're all set up for the marathon. Marathon's gonna run right through here, I think. Here's this giant squirrel, Michigan Avenue. Yeah, running on the hot coals there. They put this big advertisement on this building. It's like a pop-up shop there. They just rented it out for the window space. So you have this corner window space. There's a giant Starbucks. Michigan Avenue. Yeah, Christy M. How you doing? Yeah, thanks for the squirrel. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it amazing we're in this period where people on the left are justifiably angry? Even people on the right are angry. Everybody's angry in Trump's America. Now, some people, I'll get a bunch of people say, oh, I'm happy. You watch, there'll be about 10 people that say, oh, I'm happy. I'm very happy with what Trump's doing. But then they'll start like getting angry at the next breath, which so how happy can you be if you're happy and then you're angry? I guess your happiness derives on having righteous anger, which I can relate to that because I feel that on the left. My righteous anger makes me happy. I feel like I'm justified. Yeah. Hey, look at that painting there. Nice boots. This is the Burberry. Here's the Burberry. Somebody riding a bike down Michigan Avenue. Wow. So here, Ontario and Michigan, they're working on the road over there. We went by the lorries there. They're going to turn it into a magic-themed restaurant. I think that's the idea. Yep, the big orange piece of fruit there, starting to wrinkle up and shrivel up. Here's wow! Look at the star there. We got the nice landscaping. We always go by this. There's the fountain there. The nice Planet Medians here, Michigan Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. We go by. Hey, they're running. They're getting ready. How you doing? Jogging up Michigan Avenue here. Oh, so yeah, somebody vandalized the skeletons on state, and somebody vandalized the pumpkins. I love these little flowers here. Look at the little purple fingers there. We got the shacks of corn. There's La Catrina, Dia de los Muertos, and sadly Colos Mexicanos just went back to the pop-up shop. Maybe they'll show up somewhere else. There's yeah. Yeah, everybody's like, where's the war zone? Where's the people fighting in the streets and the battles between the National Guard and that's going on. It's not downtown. Here, go ahead across the street here. So here's Aritzia. Yeah, the scaffolding, they're redoing that building there. So you got the big coat there, the snowman. Aritzia here on Michigan Avenue. I guess this is a Canadian company. I learned that yesterday. Somebody told me that. Here's the Uggs. Get your Uggs. Michigan Avenue. President's Cup. Medina Country Club, Medina, Illinois, the President's Cup. Oh, it already happened. It already happened. Why are they still advertising on it? I totally missed it. I think I was in North Carolina when that was going on. Yeah, they chose Bad Bunny so no new people watch the Super Bowl. EC, good comment there. I agree. They made the smart choice there. And Bad Bunny has like billions and billions of views on Spotify. I mean, they're just out of touch with pop culture is what it is. And hey, here's looking towards Navy Pier. This is Grand Avenue. We got the nice mural there. There's the Nordstrom Mall. See how it goes over the street. There's the Gwynn Hotel. Got the pumpkins here. Here, Michigan Avenue. But hey, if you missed it, we got a whole rerun yesterday. Ernie and I, we started the Bean. We went down to Van Buren in Michigan, or Ida B. Wells, by the Bowman and the Spearman statues. A very dramatic backdrop for the speeches and the rally, the anti-ICE protest that we saw on Michigan Avenue. I'm sure you're seeing the reruns of how large Ernie was covering it. Ernie was right at the front of the march. Check out his content, Chicago Nuggies. And we saw healthcare should be free there. You could check him out. He was there streaming it. I'm glad he's back up. At lunchtime, we went to the Federal Plaza. J.B. Pritzker was there. I got more footage with him. Ernie got that as well. We saw the major local news media was there. We were right next to Paris there, and he's a local news anchor. Used to be on PBS, but now he's on one of the other. I think he's on Fox now, or one of the other affiliates or networks. But here we'll cross the street here, Illinois Street in Michigan, and we just passed the Intercontinental Hotel. Look at that amazing relief there on the side of the building. It used to be the Medina Athletic Association, built by the Shriners. There's the Tribune Tower. But I'm going to head to work here. We got 7:48. But check that out. I'm going to cut out more clips. And you got to respect people's exercising their First Amendment speech to gather, talk about politics, free speech, freedom of assembly. And I'm sure we got a permit for the march down the street. The police, somebody made the comment, they said Chicago is good at dealing with protests. Yeah, because there's always a protest going on, trust me. 20 years ago, I remember seeing Palestinian protesters in 2003 when that was going, or 2005, whenever that was, 2004. But we got the Chicago Marathon this Sunday, so we'll cover that. There's the NBC Tower. Hey, so there's the Aon. That's a Mies van der Rohe building. The old Illinois Center, the Chicago Architecture Center is there. That used to be the Equitable building. Now they call it 401 North Michigan. There's the 333 North Michigan. The London House, London Guarantee building. The Mather Tower. That was briefly the tallest building in Chicago for like half a year. And then there's the Jewelers building. And then there's the Wrigley building. And the Trump Tower. Trump Tower is now the second tallest building in Chicago behind the Sears Tower. And I think Aon's the third. I think that's the third tallest. And I think the John Hancock's tied with the St. Regis for the fourth and fifth there. They're all about the same height, those three. Here's the Apple Store. They got some marketing going on there. Man, I'm going to head to work here. We got Thursday, October the 9th, 2025. We got 7:50 on the dot a.m. Chicago time, Central Time Zone. And Cubs play later today, 8:08. They won last night 4-3 against the Milwaukee Brewers. Milwaukee still leads the series 2-1. They got if the Cubs can somehow manage to win tonight at home, they'll force it back to Milwaukee for Friday night game. But we'll take it one game at a time. Let's see if they can just be competitive there, have a good game tonight. So I don't know if I'm heading up there or not. We'll see how things go at work today, how much I get done. And here we'll head across the Chicago River. There it is. It's looking towards the lake. We were at the lake. You can rewind that. We were at Oak Street Beach just 20 minutes ago. And we'll head across the bridge here. La Katrina, yeah, La Katrina. Yeah, Julie Reed, that was so nice. Thanks you and everybody else. Yeah, on TikTok we would do the La Katrina, and you know, I would still be on TikTok, but TikTok has made sure that I don't feel welcome on their platform. So you can blame me. Like I don't want what happens, because what happened to what is continuing to happen to healthcare should be free is they'll just continuing to they'll block my live streaming privileges. TikTok kicked me out of the creator fund, Julie. You know that, right? They're just greedy. TikTok, ByteDance has a stock buyback program. Instead of paying their creators from advertising that they make money off, they're giving more back to people that have all the money. And so I'm going to leave their platform. You can blame me, but I'm blaming TikTok. TikTok does not make me feel welcome on their platform. They have better tools, better engagement, things like stickers, and I know most people, you want to watch me on TikTok. Blame TikTok. You can still watch me on YouTube. I commend you, Julie. Thank you, Julie, for watching me on the Lunch Bunch. Julie has been a consistent viewer on the Lunch Bunch, and thanks for watching me in the morning. I know it sucks, you know. It's I really feel that I don't trust any of these social media companies, including YouTube, but I trust some a little more than others, and that's all it is. They don't trust me. They don't give a crap about me. They just milk us like cows. They think of us nothing more than eyes on the screens and animals to be milked for money. That's capitalism right there. And we're seeing it in all its unvarnished greed. I sold all my stocks. I want the stock market to go down. I don't want good people to be laid off. I want to hurt the billionaires. They have such a wall around them that it's impossible. They do fear class warfare, and they're bringing it upon themselves by their own actions. Here's and it's be very hard for me to say that on TikTok. Here's Fannie Mae. Here's Jelly Belly. You go to Blackhawks store. Blackhawks started their season there. Chicago Blackhawks hockey team. Chief Mukatama Shokia Kayak. There he is. Fox and sock. There's the Mather Tower at the back of the, I think you're in B Building, Michigan Avenue, 753. Hey, I made it to work on time. I can't believe it. So, hey, we'll cut out more footage from the anti-ICE protests. Ernie's got some good footage. I don't know if anybody else was out there. I know healthcare should be free. We saw resistfascism.org was there. Thanks for them for showing up in mass there. People from all No Kings, and then the actual organization, the resist the Trump agenda there. And you know, I don't agree with everything that was said, but I respect people's right to say it. I feel it deserves to be covered. Like Chris and other people said, the major news media wasn't covering it in the depth that Ernie and I covered it, and that's why there was a lot of other social media people on Instagram, X, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, all independent citizen journalists. You're not going through corporate media besides YouTube, you know, and you could decide for yourself. You know, you could listen to it just like you were there and make up your own mind. I'm not trying to influence you. You know, I respect people that have opinions different than mine. I don't expect people to agree with me, but let me have my channel here. And if it bothers you, there's plenty of other things to watch. You can watch other people's viewpoints from mine. And you're not going to change my opinion. I'm not going to change yours. I'm not even trying to change your opinion. I'm just trying to air my own thoughts, because it's almost like a journal, like a scrapbook. Here's Carbide and Carbon Building. Look at that, Chicago, Illinois. Art Deco. There's the Wrigley Building. And look, yeah, the landscaping. They got the plants here. They're the fall plantings here. They got ornamental cabbage and kale, pumpkins, petunias. They're doing the plantings here. They got the shocks of corn. So we'll leave you with the Hazel Johnson mural to environmental justice. Mr. Super A has that mural on the side of the Prudential Building. We'll spread awareness about Hazel Johnson and what she did to promote the cause of environmental justice in the city. So have a great Thursday there. We'll see you at lunchtime. I'll cut out the more reruns, and then we'll see if we go up to Wrigley or not, depending on how I feel later today. Thanks a lot, everybody. Yeah. Bugs are expensive. Shauna, see ya. Thanks for being on. Yeah, sit in the National Guard. The pumpkin was overturned. Oh, the humanity. Hey, have a great day. Thanks for the nice comment there. Appreciate it. Talk to you later. All right, bye. Thanks, mods. You guys are great.